Sorry, stopped. We didn't start recording. If we go up here, this button here is you see that a lot in a lot of Windows applications now, the Start button. So we've got New Session, Account Info, Preferences, and none of these have really changed. You've got Import Design that you had before, Export Design, and again, don't think that you're going to be able to export the design and go elsewhere other than our great friend Stuller. Import a part, very exciting. That we'll come to that later. Quote history is the same, backups the same. Help is live now, so the user guide is live, so you can see a full training. The training videos will be coming at a later date. So let's just have a look around. Freehand appears here again. The customize screen, not a great deal different. So let's just go back to search, and I'm just going to go through a search. And before I do that, there's a new button that's hiding up here. Let's just come across it. It's called What's My Style, or What's Your Style. So I'm going to click this as if I'm the customer, and hopefully this will load in a reasonable time scale. And what this is a little quiz you can do with your customers to find out what their style is. In the States, they let the customer drive this. They give them the mouse and say, right, just take this little quiz. I'll be over in a couple of secs, and let's just see what we think is your design. This can be used quite tongue-in-cheek, but if they're a bit vague, which customers can be, you can get an idea of what designs you could start to look at. So I'm just going to click things randomly, or things that appeal to me. So this chair would appeal to me. Color-wise, probably this one. Design, I don't know what happened to that one. That one must have got taken off the market. Let's go for that one. Design of knives and forks. What relevance has that got to jewelry? But hey, let's have a look. Let's go along. I quite like that door. Flowers. It's just a refresh. I think I might go for this hibiscus. Bags. I only use a bag at the weekend. People who know me. Light. Let's go for that one. Shoes. I think Chris likes these ones, so I think we'll go for those ones. Musical instrument. I quite like a harp because I'm an angel. And let's see. Right, it says that I'm glamorous and I quite like Art Nouveau. Okay, so let's browse some styles with those in mind. And what happens is this is automatically populated with that setting. So glamorous is already on there. So then I can go cruising these styles and have a look. So I'm going to go through with my customer. So the new part is a new compare. These little buttons here, if I click that, she quite likes that. She quite likes that. And I'm starting to question my own taste here. So let's just go down. Ooh, look. Bear trap. Let's just move down. Let's click that one. Move down a bit further. Ooh, let's have a go at that one. And then we can click compare and have a look at those three designs more closely. So if I click these, I can have a look at each one individually. Now if I liked those, I would go return to results, double click on the portfolio, and this is a new part of it, so I could just double click on here and type in something randomly. Over to you, Chris. Richard. He's a blast from the past. So if I go to the design manager, those rings now appear in here, and then I can fill in the first name, last name, and all those other bits and bobs there, or I can create a new portfolio from here. Now you'll notice the difference here. The base ring is here. We've dropped that SPI reference. A lot of people always forget what that means, starting point inventory. So anything that I then alter in a given piece appears here. So let's just shut that down a mo. I'm going to go back to up here and do new session and just start from the beginning. So new customer, 3C's design. Let's just have a look in here. And I quite like that one, quite like that one, that one, that one, and I quite like that one. Go compare, go compare.com, return to the results. I'm going to double click on here and put another name in there. Right, let's have a look at what Sally's selected. So these are the ones that Sally selected. Put your details in here as you would do normally. So now I'm going to go to Customize. Let's just go to the Design Manager and let's bring out this one, for instance. I'm just going to double click that and bring this up onto the screen, and I'm just going to waffle while this is giving me the please wait sign. So nothing's changed here particularly. This is a typical 3Cs design. What you will notice though is on the left here you've got design options. So you can do all sorts of things here. Now the gem rotation, I can't really show you that until I change the center gem shape, so I'll do that now just so that makes sense. Let's go for a princess cut. And you'll notice this now says working whilst it's whirring around and changing aspects of it. If I click gem rotation, and hopefully it will do what I think it's going to do, and it didn't, so it must appear somewhere else. So I'll not talk about that just now. Setting center gallery rail, I can turn that on or off. The goldsmiths in the house still like that. Shank mill grain, that doesn't appear until I get rid of the stones on the shoulder. Not that we're really big into our mill grain. That's a welcome addition, getting rid of that stone on the side that none of us seem to like. I can turn the stones off on the shank, and then it brings out this really pretty shank design, and as per usual I can go down to shank and change that cross-section curve. Matching band, if I just bring out the matching band to that, and I'm just going to turn those stones back on. Let's just click that, get those back on. Over here it's very subtle how much that kinks out there, but if I go into here and click, you'll notice that that straightens up, so I can have a straight wedding band as opposed a contoured one. Band gems setting type, if I click this, and then it puts claws on those, and the same up here. I can press that and get claws on there, which is a real belt and braces job. Now once I like that and I want to save that to one of my job bags, so to speak, what I can do is click Save. You see how that kind of disappeared off the screen? So if I go back to the Design Manager, that change has been saved there. So if I double click that one now, just say no to that because I've already saved it. So let's go to this other ring, which wants to have a look at what can be done with this other ring, and hopefully a lot, because it's not looking too clever as it stands. It's very simplistic. Gem accents on shank, so let's put some gems on the shank and have a look at that. Style, so there's not a huge amount I can do to that, but I think the majority of our customers wouldn't want to do a great deal to that anyway. So that's the change that I've done to that. Save. So if I go back to the Design Manager and just have a look at what it's done. So it's a bit like Matrix. If anyone's seen Matrix, the saves are going to be coming, will come to the right of the base design, which is a lot better than it was before. Previously you'd have a job here, you'd have a job here, a job here, and then you'd save, and it'd save it below the last one that you clicked. And it was just very confusing. I found it very hard to find things, and I'm sure other people will agree with that. So you'd go through each one and change it as you see fit. Now, what if the customer gave you a bit of a curveball and they said, let's go back to that first one. So I'm just going to say no to saving that. To just bring that out. And let's have a look at that. She suddenly goes, oh, well, what does it look like with one of those things around the top? Do you mean a halo, madam? Yes, a halo. Well, let's go into freehand, which is a new section that we've created. Now in freehand, and I'm going to stay on this quite a while, there's all sorts of base elements that you can play with, and they've put a lot of work into this, and I've made so many things with this already. Some of them tongue-in-cheek, some of them I quite like myself. So I'm going to go to Gems and Settings. I'm going to come back to this later. Now if I scoot down all the way down here, there's a halo closed. If I double click that, it's going to bring out a halo. Now those of you have sat training with me which all of you have, I think. I used to do an extra bit in my training where we took a shank and put stones in it and put heads on it and made it freehand. It worked okay. I don't know how much success you had with it, but this is super powerful, and the things that they've given you are very pertinent to design nowadays. So let's just click that little circle there. Let's drop that down a little bit further and just close the inside on that. I'm going to go for 7.1, and we'll go for a similar number on the side there and just have a look at that. That might not be everybody's cup of tea, but at the speed I'm doing it here, I've not got time to refine it too far. So then the customer can see what it's going to look like with a halo. Or you could just go back into search and start looking for halos. So that's the freehand section. Now what I want to do is I want to go right the way back to search, go back up to here. I'm going to do a new session, say no to saving that, and I'm just going to show you a little bit more about freehand, and there's a lot of things to show you in here. So I'm in freehand, so let's go all the way down to shanks, and let's bring out some of these shanks and just show you what they do. So let's have a look at this one, shank rails. Now you're thinking, well, that's not going to make a very good ring, but if I flip that to the other side, I've then got a shank to play with. Now there's quite a few things I can do to this. I can open it up like that. I don't think that's going to work, but you can play around with these things quite extensively. You can even do this and move them apart, and then you could put stones in here or settings or filigree work or whatever you want. Kind of the sky's the limit on that. So let's have another look at a different shank. Let's go to shanks again. Let's just move this to the top. Let's have a look at some of these other shanks. Let's have a look at this one. See what we can do with that one. Okay, so let's go to gems and settings. Let's bring out a stone. Let's move the stone into position. Notice it's got cut to finger rail or pull to rail, as we call it in Matrix. I'd have to scoot back to the shank in this one. So let's go back to the shank and have a look at that opening and the span location. Let's just move that a little bit that way and just crash that into there and see what that looks like. So there I've created a piece that isn't in the library, and that's of my own design. And this is something you could do in front of a customer. I would be careful going too deep into this part. I think this is something that you would probably do in your own time after doing some traditional drawings. So let's just have another look at something else. Let's just get rid of these two. Let's go down to miscellaneous. There's quite a few things in here, and I'm going to bring out this trout, which Chris, who sat beside me, is a big fisherman. He likes the trout. If I click this button here, it brings out this. Now you're wondering what is this? Well, this allows me to bend these design elements. So if I go to this view, let's go to 3/4 view. Let's just zoom in and just have a look at that. And you'll notice that this flips around wherever I'm moving my mouse. So what I could do now is bend it in this view. I'm not sure how many times fish feature in your designs. Let's just have a look at that. And if you're happy with that, click that little box and that takes you back to this screen. Now, how big is that scale-wise? Well, show hide grid lines. I don't know whether many of you used to use that. Each one of these represents 1 millimeter, so you can just count those and get a ballpark figure of the size of that piece, or ask Stuller if you send it for a quote. You could then add that to a ring or a pendant. Like I say, there's all sorts of design elements in there that you can use. Let me just, I was going to show you some photographs, but I'll come back to you on that. I'll probably send that in the email later on. let's just turn that off. Whilst I'm up here, the grid lines, seen that before. This is going to be quite important when you're using this freehand section. There's this, which is very good. Now, previously we cheated in the looking down viewport was just perspective and it was just moved so it looked like looking down. This is now locked. So when I right click and hold it turns into a little hand, allows me to move it around. Through finger, side view and so on. I'll come back to the hand in a mo when I bring out another ring. So freehand, you can spend absolutely hours in here. There's lots and lots of things to play around with. The webinar that my American cousins do, they do a lot of mill grain. It's not really our thing, but you can add mill grain to almost anything. So if I just click this bar, for instance, let's get rid of the fish. So that bar, what the hell can I do with that? Well, I can just bend it. These little buttons here allow me to scale an object and it gives you the size of a piece, which is handy. I would recommend once you get Counter-Sketch 4, get yourself a pair of digital calipers so you can see the physical size of a given piece, and you'll get used to quite quickly, you know, how big things need to be and how small is makeable, because it's going to be very easy to make things that are unmakeable. We are going to produce a PDF on, you know, recommended parameters for making things. So I'm just going to bend that round and see what kind of shape I can get from that. And let's have a look what else I can do with this. Let's bend it this way and just have some fun. That's not looking too good, but hey ho. The other thing with bend, let me just get rid of that and bring out another piece. Let's go back to miscellaneous and bring out, what should we bring out? I don't know why would you want a fire axe or a boot, but let's have a look what we've got. Let's bring out a dolphin. See what we can do to the dolphin. Now going back to bend, I forgot to show you something. Up here, this tells me how it's going to bend. So if I grab hold of this, it's going to bend like that. If I click this button, it's going to bend front to back. If I click this again, it's just going to bend in one view. And I can also move the bend around so I can bend at odd angles. So I can have the dolphin jumping out at you and creating different shapes. And it is very, very powerful the way that that works. I could spend all day going through this. There's all sorts of things in here. I'll just start from top to bottom. Bales, there is some little buttons you can click here so it narrows down your search. Lots of design elements, lots and lots of things that you can throw up there and bend and pull and push and add stones to. The sky's the limit really, and this will be added to as you go along. Floral, there's a whole bunch of things in here, some very, very pretty things. I'm sure Cottrell will be very happy with that if they've bought this software, which they haven't. Gems and settings, we've already gone along. Miscellaneous, we have scrolls and so on. And the thing that I found really exciting on this was the ability to bring in my own pieces, as in things that I've made in Matrix. Now those that don't have Matrix don't have to worry. You can still obtain pieces off TurboSquid or any of the websites, bring it into Rhino, so you'd fire up Rhino on its own, bring in the item, and then save it out as a 3DM. And then what you would do is, if I go up to here and click Import Part, and then go and find the object that I want to bring in. So I'm going to bring in CS Webinar Crown, one I prepared earlier. Click Open, and you can see that I've already imported some. So that's how quick it is. If I then double click, let's just get rid of this dolphin. So let's just do New Session. No. I'm just going to go back to freehand. If I double click this crown, now this is quite a complicated object, so hopefully it will be not too cruel to me and come out in a reasonable time scale. And let's double click that. Oh, there it is. So this is a crown that I created in T-Splines, part of our Matrix package. Now I've got all the tools that I would have in Matrix and now in Counter Sketch 4, so now I can bend these elements. One thing I would say on this is when you bring it in, make sure it's of a reasonable scale. Otherwise you're going to get some issues. Now this is quite a complicated object, so it is chugging a little bit. So let's have a look at another piece, one of my user things that I've done. So this was a piece of filigree. So this was just a vector that I brought in from a free vector site. And then what I did is I extruded it in Rhino, so it was a solid object, and then brought it in. Now that's a bit fat, it's 2 millimeters, so I'll just scoot that down to about 1 mil, and then I could add that to a wedding band and then array it around to create this kind of pattern. I can do a 3D scale, I can scale it in and squish it around however I want. The only thing I will say is it won't allow you to bring in diamonds. Whether they'll give us that at a later date, I don't know. I also did a little piggy, again in T-splines in Matrix, and this is a classic case of someone who's not scaled the object before they brought it in. So something like that, I'd have to scale that down. So this is a little pig I created for a customer. So that could be, I'd put a bail on it, put a chain on it, and away you go. And the last thing out of that user menu is something, this is a very heavy object, so I'm hoping it comes out in a few secs, because what you'll find in the miscellaneous section, or is it elements, shape, symbolic, there's a whole bunch of American Army badges, so I thought I'd do my own Army badge, and this is the Royal Engineers Corps, and it looks like it's not going to come out and play because it is a very, very complicated object, so I might have to come out of that. Hopefully my machine doesn't crash on me while this is coming out. While that's coming out, has anyone got any questions so far? Other than, can you please slow down? No, everyone's shy. Oh, here we go. So this is a design element that I've used a few times in Matrix. Now something like that, I could mount that on a signet ring. So if I went to the shanks section and just came down to signet ring, and you can see how big this is now. Click this little dot. I'm going to move that down, and I'm going to move that up, and I'm just going to plonk it down there. Needs scaling a little bit smaller. Now I would question whether the mill or the growing machine would be able to get all this detail. This is something that you would have to confer with Stuller about. So if I just put that down to there, and then away we go. Signet ring. Now for me to have done that in Matrix would have taken quite a while, so you can see how powerful this is. So I'm just going to leave freehand alone for a moment. I'm just going to go to new session. So you show you another cool item. So I'm going to go to anniversary rings, let's say. And let's just come down here. Let's have a look at this one here, for instance. Now this is one of my bugbears that we had by a lot of customers. How many times do you get asked for ruby diamond, sapphire diamond, sapphire diamond, sapphire diamond, and you can't do it? You could do it via Photoshop, but who wants to faff around with that? So you just don't have time. So now we have a new tool, which is any gem, any color. This is fantastic. This is a great addition to the product. So let's say I wanted sapphire diamond, sapphire diamond. So if I click this, and it brings up all the blue stones available to you. So I'm going to go for sapphire blue. And notice when I hover over these stones, they highlight. So I'm going to go down here, click all those stones on that side, Make sure I get this in the right order. Click, 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 click. And I'm going to click apply. And done. So now I've got a sapphire diamond, which previously was undoable. The way I used to do it is I used to do 2 renders, one in diamond, one in sapphire, and then compile the 2 in Photoshop. But to be quite honest, it was a faff. If I had my own business doing it, I'd just, do it, but I'd much rather have this facility where I can pick the stones, and you can pick multiple stones. You could have an array of colour on this. So this leads me over to rendering. Now, if I click Render Options, this is laid out a lot better than it was before, and it also has titles for what these items are, where previously it didn't. So we've got Studio, Light Tent, Blur Studio 2. These all mean things to me because I come from a matrix background. For yourselves, it's just going to be a click it and see what you think. There's some new ones here that I've never seen before, like System 6. So I'm going to try Light Tent, for instance. White Reflective. We've got a whole bunch of things in here, the same as it was before, but now they're actually titled. Silk Driftwood. I think I'll leave that one alone. White Reflective, got your props as you do before, 640, 480. Now tops out at 1920, 1080, which is a welcome thing for this to give us. And I'm just going to click Close, and I'm going to click Render. And hopefully this will render in a reasonable time scale. Well, my machine seems to be lagging today for whatever reason. And the rendering is fantastic now. In some ways I find it better and easier than Matrix to get my final render. And let's just see. I'm going to leave this on 640, 480. I'd normally do this in 1920, 1080. So pretty quick, and it's nice to see those diamonds and sapphires. So like I say, you can change any colour. If I was feeling a bit colourful, I could maybe do emerald, and we'll stick an emerald in there, and we'll go to here and we'll put a diamond teal in there, and we could maybe go over here and citrine Madagascar, and we could maybe go, let's go purple, diamond purple, put that in there, click apply and render that, and it wouldn't look great. Or you can clear all and take it back to all diamond. And before I leave, one of the other buttons is Design Try-On. So nothing's changed here except for one thing that was asked for a long time ago, and I kind of sniggered at the idea of that, and it's this. I can now put the ring on a man's hand. Yes, I know. And let's just wait till that comes out. It's obviously shy, and this is the man's hand. I don't think he's got hairy knuckles. So you can put the rings on a more masculine hand and add nail varnish to it if you so wish, or if you're Chris, because he likes to wear nail varnish at the weekend. So other things that have changed, let's just get rid of that hand because I'm finding it a bit creepy. Let's just remove that. Other things that have changed, quick estimate is the same. There's no difference there. There's a stone report which tells you what stones are on screen. The ordering hasn't changed a great deal, although is laid out. It is a lot easier to see. This will populate with whatever you put in your job bag area. You can tell it's the prototype, finished casting, the usual suspects. It also lays out what the stones are. And like I say, there's not a great deal changed on there, although it is a lot simpler. So that's everything in a nutshell. Anything that I've missed out, I'll add at a later date in other videos. Hopefully this will be one of other webinars, unless the powers that be say I'm not very good at it. But let's see. Is there any questions that my colleagues can ask or answer? I think Alan Shalom said college ring. Yes, we can do college rings, Alan. I'm sure you sell lots of those. Is there any other questions? Oh, where is the college ring? You're going to have to hand construct that, unfortunately, via freehand. It's quite regional college rings, but I will put that forward to the States. Oh, is it cost? You're not happy, bless you. Is anyone else doing college rings? I know the Irish do from time to time. Yes, you could start with a signet ring. That's a good idea. Yep, and then add to it. Because there is lettering in freehand as well. There's a whole library of letters. Yeah, we can do that. Oh, your questions are thick and fast, and I'm hold on. 2 secs. Let me just have a look at some of these questions. Let me just scroll up. Is there a way of displaying the search results with smaller main stones as a default? Not that I'm aware of, Charlotte, I'm sorry. And Stephen Hill is asking about details of the upgrade. Yes, we can give you that. Plus additional training costs. I think what we're going to do is just do a 1-day conversion course, because I know time is of the essence with you guys being retailers. What about ordering coloured stones? We'll answer that offline when I get an answer for you from Faye. Have you got any Cabbajon opals as a stone to choose from? Do you know what? I don't think we have. Who asked that? 2 secs. Natalie Fuller. We'll inquire about that and get back to you on that one. I'm pretty sure there is. Let's just have a look at that. Show all stones. No, I can't see any Cabbajon in there. I could put in the search Cabbajon. If I've spelt it right. No, no results. We'll inquire about that though. That's a good question, that. Well, Chris is just saying I've spelt it wrong. Yes, we can change the finger size. No, you can't export into Matrix, Thaddeus, unfortunately. It's a one-way revolving door, that one. Never say never, though. It might happen one day, but at the moment, no. Sorry, the keyboard's at the other side of the room. No. Is there any more questions? We're going to send everybody a copy of this, or a link to this session that we've done today, and hopefully we'll do some more sessions. We may even do the training for this online a couple of hours each week. We're not quite sure how we're going to do it, because I know it's a bit of a bind for some of you to come all the way up to sunny Leeds, and I say sunny because it is. What did I do with a double wire shank? I didn't do a great deal with it, Alan. I had a feeling I was going to get into deep water there, but you can produce some pretty amazing things. Let me just have a look at my pictures. Hopefully there's no pictures of my children. So let me just scoot down here. And oh, this is a skull thing that I put. I've already shown them the man hand, Chris. So now we've got a heart with wings that I did. I'll just get my colleagues to answer the questions. So these are some of this is where I created a suite. So this is all done in Counter-Sketch. None of this is done in any other program. So this is some of the designs that I've created myself. I'm no designer, but I think they're quite nice. The chain there, there's chains in there as well, which is really nice. So the customer will go, well, what is it? Is it a stud earring? Is it a pendant? What is it? This is an example of filigree work that I've put onto the sides of a ring. There's another chain. I just bent it in lots of different shapes. Moving along, this was an experiment on colour. They're a bit garish, but hey ho, it's I think it looked quite good. Oh no, what the hell was that? Oh, it's just one of my skull and pistons range. This is one I did for the Americans, tongue-in-cheek. It's my president's ring. Sick bags at the ready, and they liked it, believe it or not. This is another ring this is one of the first things I did. That's not from there. This is a skull with some wings. This is one I did at the IGL, just playing around, and that's it. These are the ones that are from another program. So there's just some examples of the kind of things you can do with freehand. I've had absolutely loads of fun. My wife is now a counter-sketch widow, so I'm going to have to finish now. Any more questions? My pleasure, Alan. Cool. I hope to do it again. I think it's been quite successful. Hopefully we'll see you again one of these. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.